The worst version of yourself, Mr. Wimperson, starts his day with an amazingly fantastic thought that leads his day to be completely worse. Well, what is this thought? I like to call this thought as thought X. And this is the thought that leads to failure. But how does it lead to failure? In simple words, Mr. Wimperson decided last night that he's going to wake up at 6 o'clock and he's going to train for 1 hour straight. But the thought told him that, well, you're just starting out. You can just one more day. You have a very wonderful life ahead of you. Why do you have to train so hard? Why do you have to trust in yourself? And all those weak things. And suddenly, Mr. Wimperson wakes up at 8 o'clock because he chose to skip his workout that morning. Then he stumbles upon someone namely called as the G-Mob, the greatest man of the bloodline. He stumbles upon the G-Mob and then he looks at the G-Mob. The G-Mob is the symbol of masculinity. He's the man that young men like us look up to. And when he sees a small short clip of the G-Mob, Mr. Wimperson gets motivated to do all the hard working stuff, all these things that will lead him to be successful, all the discipline things. But when he quits that, he just becomes the dull character that is consumed by his thoughts that he once was. And if you want to be the G-Mob of your bloodline, make sure that you watch this video till the end. My name is Kanishram and in this video I'm going to talk about thought X, which is one of the main reasons for failure in young men. First of all, what is thought X? As I mentioned earlier, it is the reason for failure. But what exactly is thought X? How do I understand it in a way that I never forget what it means? Well, thought X is simply the thoughts that enable you to be a weak person, to be a person that is weak. Well, if you chose to wake up at 6 o'clock every day and your mind says that let's sleep for half an hour more, that is thought X. If you chose to take up on a diet and your mind tells you these thoughts like let's cheat on a diet, that is thought X. Thought X is simply the thought of weakness that allows you to be a degenerate. Do you understand? But how do you avoid these thoughts? Well, in simple words, I'll tell you a small story of mine that happened today. So, I had to be at school today earlier than usual for some reasons. And I didn't do my workout in the morning, so I decided to do it in the evening. And when I came home, I just put my bag in the corner that I usually keep it in. I came home, took the mat, put it on the floor. When I was about to start my warm-up routine, my mind gave me these thoughts like, let's not do it hard today. It's already the evening. You have had a very rough day at school today. And you know what I told it? Nothing. Because I understand something that ancient yogis understood. Well, what it is? You might have heard in YouTube and all other platforms that you are what you think. It is true. But thinking is different from thoughts. You are not your thoughts, but you are what you think about. Let's get clear about thinking before we start talking about thoughts. What does thinking mean? Thinking is a skill. Thinking is an age-old skill that ancient people had very well until recently it became dull with the upbringing of social media and all other main causes for the loss of goodness in this world. Well, if you can't sit at silence for about 5 minutes, then you can clearly understand that you don't have that skill. Thinking literally means to just sit down and to force your mind, analyze, create ideas about certain things. But thoughts are like passing clouds. They are random allocations located in your mind from external influences. And these thoughts, they are just like roaming around in your mind, and once in a while, these thoughts get your attention. They're just roaming here and there. Once in a while, some of these thoughts make a circle around your head. They just come in front of your attention. And if you're going to give it your attention, then you're going to fail because those thoughts lead to failure. Henceforth, you must understand that most men misunderstand thinking and thoughts. Thinking is a skill. Like I can literally sit down right now and think about what I'm going to record today. I can sit down right now and think about what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. That is thinking. When you usually make a plan for a trip, you think about certain things, right? You don't randomly get thoughts. You might get ideas. Ideas different from thoughts. Most of the ideas I get, it's when I'm bathing. I don't know. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's because of the silence in my bathroom or maybe other things, but most of the best ideas I get, it's while I'm bathing. And thoughts, they just come to me every day. Many moments. But how do you clear yourself of these thoughts? Because these thoughts are going to come anyways, and there are certain ways that you can take up which will reduce the upbringing of these thoughts. The first way is thought labeling. Whenever you get these thoughts, you have to be very certain that this is thought X. So you have to tell the commander inside of you, so you have to tell your mind that this is thought X, which leads to failure. Don't create more thoughts like this. Your mind is literally the internal reflection of your external life. What you have internally of your mind, inside of your mind, is what it reflects in this outside realm. So if you're going to allow your mind to be filled with these negative thoughts, then your mind is not going to comply with your orders. Because your mind has only a certain amount of space. So if these bad thoughts, these thought X takes up the place and the space you have in your mind, how can you expect your command to be executed? You can't. So that's one way of removing thought X. It doesn't completely remove thought X, it just makes you aware that this is thought X and this is not me. Right? Like most of the time I wake up and most of the time I go to sleep, I get the thought to use my phone. Trust me, I get it. But I just tell it, this is not who I am. It's just a passing cloud. It doesn't make me who I am. That's it. I'm not the victim for the thought anymore. Most men understand this, but they make a mistake when they get these kinds of thoughts. They kind of get anxious. They're like, oh no, I got a thought X. What am I going to do? Oh my god, it's coming. Remove it. No. Not that way, brother. You're supposed to sit there, calm, like a stone. Just sit there, like, move out. Tell your thought like, move out. No, I don't care about you. I'm not afraid of you. Most men today, I'm saying this, most young men today are afraid of their own minds and their own problems in their minds, that they are too weak to face it. I have asked multiple of people I know to start meditating. Common answers that I got was, when I meditate, I'll start to get thoughts which haunt me. And as a man, you're supposed to face problems. If you're going to run away from them, we're never going to become better. So the second step is to start meditating again. When you get these kinds of thoughts, you can remove them using thought labeling technique, but if you want your mind to be more calm and more serene throughout the day, I would recommend that you start the habit of meditation. And I also want you to understand one thing. I want you to start meditating in the correct way, because there's lots of way in YouTube and all other stuff which doesn't even teach you how to meditate. They just tell you meditate and your life will become better. But how do you meditate? Meditation is simply the process of focusing on something, and when your focus gets distracted by something, it is you consciously pulling your focus towards the thing that you're focusing on. Because for example, if I'm focusing on my breath during my meditation session and my focus gets diverted into something else, I'll forcefully pull it back to my breath. That's how meditation works. You are supposed to get diverted. You are supposed to get distracted during meditation, and you are supposed to bring back your focus to a thing that you were focusing on earlier. That's how meditation works. And the reason why I stress on this thought X more and more again throughout the video is because this is one of the main reasons young men fail today. This is one of the main reasons students are not able to reach their academic goals. This is one of the main reasons that most people are not having the desired physics. So, if you clearly understand the difference between thinking and thoughts, you would make a decent amount of progress in this area of removing bad thoughts in your life. So, if you don't even know how to think, because in today's world, thinking is not something that most people do. They just act based on their thoughts. But I want you to understand that you are not your thoughts, but you are what you think about. I'm not my thoughts, but I am what I think about every single second. Right? I think about myself as a certain way, as a certain type of person. So I will do anything it takes for me to be that type of person. Because if I'm not, my mind will give me punishments. It will haunt me down until I become that type of person. That's how your thinking must be. Your thinking must be positive, and it must also be in ways which help you to be better. Not in way that makes your life worse. Not thinking to yourself that, oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm having all these bad mental effects, I'm having all these bad things. That is not how thinking works. When you think for yourself, like many people think, many depressed people, they say that they're depressed, they won't act on feeling their depression, but they would sit there and think about being depressed over and over again, which would eventually make them more depressed. So if you want your life to have a smoother path, if you want your life to have a positive energy, you have to remove thought X out of your life. And the way that I mentioned earlier to remove thought X is very useful. But what I would like you to do is that I want you to do more research if you have time. I want you to do more research on how to think. That's it. Not about the thoughts. Leave the thoughts. You're not your thoughts. They're just passing clouds. That's it. But I want you to do more research on how to think. I will make a video on how to think, but sooner or later it will be posted, but not now. Once you finish this video, if you have any duty or responsibility that you must do, finish it, and then, if you have free time, go back to searching about how to think. The ancient yogis and the ancient philosophers mentioned this in very great ways, but it will take a very huge amount of time for me to explain it to you in ways that I understand it of. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because in the upcoming videos, I'll be coming up with other philosophies and ideas which will help you to be the best version of yourself. Conquer your mind or it will disturb your grind.